I'm not co-signing and saying we should do the same thing. As a Christian, you have to acknowledge that when we're operating in this field, we do, in a way, have one arm tied behind our back because we can't resort to these same tactics.
Ruslan.
Do not confuse my self-control and my sobriety as spiritual apathy. That's not what this is. I just think that there are more important things that we could be offended by and more important things we should be doing to combat this. And I'm gonna get more into that later in the video. Let's talk about what can we learn from this as marketers. This may trigger you, but this is what it is. If you wanna understand what's happening from a marketing standpoint here, so maybe that you don't fall for it, I highly recommend a documentary for you guys. This is the documentary of the rise of Dre, Eminem, Interscope Records. The documentary is called The Defiant Ones. And through that documentary, these guys all sit there, Jimmy Iovine, Eminem, they basically walk you through what the playbook is. Not that we can apply it, because I actually don't think we can apply it, but so that we understand what's happening. And basically, more or less, what it is, so we're clear, is this is a be so shocking and so polarizing that you stop and get the attention of so many people being disruptive or being defiant, okay? This is the same as Marilyn Manson. This is the same as Lil Kim. This is the same as DMX. This is how folks have been marketing for decades. Rock and roll was really big on this. Ozzy Osbourne eating a pigeon on stage. It's shock and awe. This is an indication of where we are in a post-pandemic shock and artists needing to stir up controversy because all press is good press, right? That's one of the rules of marketing. And again, this doesn't apply to Christians, by the way, and I'll explain why in terms of what we can and can't do from it. And remember, Lil Nas X's last big viral hit was what? It was Old Town Road, which was a crossover record that got a lot of kids involved, to the point where Joyner Lucas even called him out on it. He says that Lil Nas X video is wild, but as an artist, he doing everything he's supposed to do, creating viral moments, making people talk, and creating content he already knew you was going to react to. It's a formula. Guaranteed to work. I doubt he actually worships the devil. So remember, Old Town Road was a moment. It's I think the most streamed song of all time. It was a huge TikTok hit. It was massive. This thing was everywhere, right? So if you are Lil Nas X, how do you recreate that? How do you get that same energy the second go around? If you guys know Lil Nas X's story, he actually came up trying to go viral, found this intersection of country and this loop, and then it finally took off for him, right? And Old Town Road was a runaway hit. How do you recreate that? Well, I was keeping up with Lil Nas X, so I knew he had came out. I knew he was brought up in a Christian home. I knew of his sexual orientation. I knew his hostility towards Christians. So none of this came as a surprise to me because I more or less keep up with emerging artists. This is the marketing plan. He's giving you guys the blueprint. Now check out Joyner Lucas's next tweet, and he says, I think the biggest problem for me is that he don't understand Old Town Road is every kid's anthem. Children love him for that record. They tuned in and subscribed to his channels, so with no disclaimer, he just dropped some left field-ish and all our kids seen it. Shake my head. Now, Lil Nas X responded to this, and his response was like, listen, he said, in Old Town Road, I'm talking about adultery, and I'm talking about doing lean. So parents should do their job to lead. Same response Marilyn Manson had, same response Eminem had when people would criticize him and say, but you're a role model. He's like, I ain't no role model. What do you mean? This is what I'm always on. What are you talking about, right? It's an interesting back and forth that they have. And by the way, Joyner Lucas is not a Christian artist. He's not a clean artist. He's just like, oh, I think this is wild. New Gallup poll came out, and we found out that over 52% of the people who watch this channel are not subscribed, and we just cracked 70,000 subscribers, so do me a solid, hit that subscribe button, turn the bell notification on so you don't miss anything, and if you're finding value from this video, give it a like as well. What is the blueprint? The blueprint is go viral, be shocking, tie in different groups of people to be polarized against each other. So this is on the back end of like conservatives being outraged after Cardi B. He does this on Holy Week, a week before Easter. This was all very calculated. I'm not co-signing and saying we should do the same thing. As a Christian, you have to acknowledge that when we're operating in this field, we do in a way have one arm tied behind our back because we can't resort to these same tactics. According to Jordan Lucas, according to anybody that pays attention, he's doing everything that he should be doing, and he's doing everything they've been doing for decades, okay? Kids have been exposed to wild content and art for 50, 60, 70 years. This has been going on. If you don't believe me, pull up Marilyn Manson from the 90s. Just pull that stuff up. One of the things Lil Nas X does is that he is not afraid to not just show you who his fans are, but to tell you who his fans are not. This is an interesting tactic that I think we could apply more, meaning that here's an artist named Tom MacDonald, and he has a song out at the same time. It's number 23 trending, and it's called Church. And it's it's not a Christian record, but Tom MacDonald, if you guys don't know, he kind of speaks to this like emerging conservative crowd, a lot of Trumpers. And by the way, Tom MacDonald is independent. Why do I tell you that? Well, because Lil Nas X at the time of this video had around 12 million views and 1 million likes. His fastest video to get 1 million likes. Tom MacDonald, who's independent, there's no label behind him. He's completely self-funded. This video has 2 million views with no radio, no support, and almost 170,000 likes. So, Tom MacDonald is winning. I don't think you guys understand that. And this isn't a dark song. It's 23 on trending. So, this is a song about church. This is a song about needing God. This is a song about sobriety. This is a positive record. I'm not co-signing everything Tom MacDonald's ever did, but he tapped into these same marketing tactics. He tapped into creating a polarizing audience to make sure he knows who his audience is not. He goes against the woke agenda. He's a rapper. He has tattoos and face covered in tattoos and all this kind of stuff. He's doing the same thing on the other end of the spectrum. And if you consider that he's independent, and I wouldn't be surprised if he's not taking home as much or almost as much as Lil Nas X because he's independent and he owns everything, okay? Let's not fall into this entire, we cannot do the same thing, we can't make our own lane, we can't cover our stuff. Tom MacDonald got 2 million subscribers on YouTube, okay? He's doing his thing, shout out to him. So I'm giving you guys that as an example. There's certain things that you can pull from, like, hey, I'm not just going to tell you who this music's for, I'm going to tell you who this music's not. But we also have to acknowledge that as Christians, we cannot use the same tactics, meaning that what Lil Nas X is doing is called trolling. He consistently keeps trolling. He posted the Chick-fil-A shoe. He posted the devil shoe. He's trolling people. And then he's like, yo, I apologized, but he didn't really apologize. He knows what he's doing. I can't do that. As a Christian artist, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna troll the LGBTQ community. I'm not gonna do that. That wouldn't be smart for me. That wouldn't be helpful, right? So there's certain things that like I have to reject. There's parts of what we're talking about we just have to reject and say, I'm not doing that. I'm not trying to be polarizing. I do not need to, I gotta reject that. There are other things where I can say, okay, he's trolling. Interesting. I can troll a little bit too. Maybe I can make a polarizing thumbnail. Some of you guys are instantly shocked and grabbed in and pulled into this video. It's a similar tactic. Some of you guys will be like, no, I can't rock with you anymore, Ruslan. Respect. And so I want to make sure that you guys understand how this works. Now, here is something that I think compounds this. When you guys see this, some of you guys, especially those of you guys that are Christians and you kind of lean conservative and you're like anti-victim mentality, but y'all be the first ones to have a victim mentality when it comes to art, media, and culture, even though brothers like Tom MacDonald out here killing it with 2 million subscribers, 2 million views in a day, same weekend as Lil Nas X, completely independent, right? We put on this victim mentality of if I'm a Christian, if I have wholesome music, if I don't cuss, I'm just not going to win. That is hogwash. 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 Why do I know it's hogwash? Well, because if you understand how the music industry works, there aren't these guys behind desks who are pressing the button on the most satanic stuff we could find, and we're just gonna press the button on Lil Nas X because he's dark. Lil Nas X was an organic explosion because he leveraged technology and understood marketing. A lot of these things are more organic than we think they are because it's all based on the algorithms, meaning that a lot of folks at these major labels aren't even looking. They're not even looking at the talent side of it. They're literally have A&Rs who are examining What are the numbers? What are the streams? What are the views? They have stuff called chart metrics. They have stuff called social blade, and they're paying attention. And the moment an artist sets off bells, somebody from a major label will reach out to them strictly on the analytics, okay? And there's a way we could finesse this. I'm gonna get to that in a second. So, guy like Nick D, shout out to my brother Nick D. He puts out a record. It's called Fine Apple. I think it does like 100,000 streams in a day. Guess who called him? Capital Caroline. Hey, we want to work with you. We want to do a licensing deal with you. This is what we could do for you. 100,000 streams. He got an offer. He was like, nah, I'm staying indie, right? Imagine if that same record would have got 1 million streams in a day or 10 million streams in a day. The conversation changes, right? When you see the Lil Uzi Verts, when you see these guys like Trippie Redd or whatever, the really dark stuff, you have to understand that this stuff is what's happening organically in SoundCloud culture, in TikTok culture, on YouTube, and they're just coming alongside of it because there's proof of concept with the algorithms, okay? I did a whole video on my experience in the music industry, and I know this because when I had the meetings, and I still have acquaintances and some friends even at these major labels at Capitol. My buddy Jeff Vaughn is the president, folks over at Interscope. But my company did a deal with Interscope. They were strictly looking at the metrics. They were looking at it and they were saying, hey, you guys are doing these numbers. Oh, and by the way, Reach and Lecrae and those guys, they're doing pretty good numbers. We can make you guys the Christian TDE meets Reach. That was their vision for us, right? And it obviously didn't work out, but it's all algorithmic based. It's strictly what the numbers are telling them, and that's what they're going off of, okay? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's Christian or not to these algorithms, to YouTube, to whoever. It really doesn't. What matters is, are people clicking in? Are people watching? Are people staying connected? Are people sharing? That's what they're looking at. It's all algorithmic and metrics based, which in my opinion, levels the playing field. So 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago, were there people doing talent development and trying to push certain stuff through? Sure. Is that how the industry functions now? No. I know this from firsthand experience. I guarantee you that once you get those numbers up, things start to change. Now, we do have to acknowledge, again, this isn't applicable to all Christians because there are certain things like the lust of the eyes, the lust of the flesh are always going to drive in more views. They're always going to get people more polarized. They're always going to get people more tapped in to do the thing that is not Christian, that is often anti-Christian, because we as humans love violence and we love sex and we love to watch train wrecks and car accidents and fights. So we are working against this. I'm not saying we're not at a disadvantage. I'm going to give you guys how we could be at an advantage in a second here, but I want us to know this isn't what you think it is. The agenda is capitalism. What you click into will determine what they push more of. So the more you click into a Lil Nas X, that's the stuff that's going to keep coming. You're going to see that stuff in your algorithms. You watch the Lil Nas X videos, there's going to be more Lil Nas X videos all over YouTube algorithms. That is how this thing works. You want to know more particulars about my experience in the music industry, you can go watch that video. Now, what can we learn from marketing standpoint? Number one, there's something about doing music for people that's also not for these people. This is the model that Tom MacDonald has used. This is the model that Lil Nas X has used. This music is for these people. It is not for these people. And I'm going to go so hard for these people that these people are going to get angry. I'm going to be the voice and the mouthpiece for these people, and these people are not going to like it. And cool, I'll even troll them a little bit. Now, I'm not promoting trolling, right? The storytelling on behalf of a tribe. So you're telling not just your story, but you're telling the story of other people that can connect with it. Also, there's 4 E's in marketing, and I think I learned this on a TikTok video a while ago, and I've been trying to incorporate them, and I do subtly incorporate them already. The 4 E's. It has to be entertaining. It has to be emotional. It has to be engaging. And it should be educational to some degree. So let's go back to this Tom MacDonald video. It's called Church. Is it entertaining? Well, yeah. I mean, look at the dude. Like, he's telling a story here. He got some crazy hair going on. I mean, how is that not entertaining, right? He's rapping, he's making music, it's entertaining. It's emotional. There's a message here about sobriety. It's engaging. Because it's emotional, it's engaging, it pulls you in, you react to it. He's willing to alienate certain people to reach the people he wants to. And there's a degree of education, there's a slight degree of education. What do I mean? Well, in this case, he's talking about sobriety and the process of giving up alcohol. Those are the 4 E's that I think all of us can incorporate, regardless on where you're at in the marketing side of things. We're talking about entertaining, emotional, engaging, and educational. If you can make your YouTube videos have those 4 E's, if you could have your TikTok videos make those 4 E's, if you could have your IG reels, those 4 E's, emotional, entertaining, engaging, educational, you're gonna win. Another thing that we can learn from the Lil Nas X from a marketing standpoint, and this is something that we can actually apply, is the strategic collaborations. He's been very calculated, very intentional with strategic collaborations. What am I talking about? Well, out the gate, Old Town Road came out. They didn't want to put it on the country charts. I remember this. And it was a big outrage, and oh, is it because he's black? He can't be on the country charts. And so what did they do? Him or the label or somebody over there got Billy Ray Cyrus on the record. Billy Ray Cyrus is a country icon. That helped explode the record even bigger. It was already a huge record, but because Billy Ray Cyrus was on the record, it got even bigger. It was even bigger. What other strategic collaborations? Well, again, Mischief, this company that did his Satan shoe, right? It also did a Jesus shoe. There can be strategic collaborations, not just with artists, but with brands to create what? High commodity products. When you drop something that's scarce, you're leaning on scarcity, limited edition, there's only a few of it, it drives the value and the hype of it up, and more people engage, okay? So that is something else. In a strategic collaboration, you can use scarcity to drive the perceived value of what you're doing. Those shoes that he dropped, the Satan shoe, they sold out. He made 666 pair. They sold out in a minute. It's because he made 660 pair. You think if he made 6 million pair, everybody would have bought them? I don't think so. But because there was less of them, he was able to charge more. He attached his publicity and all this stuff to a high ticket item, even though Nike dissed him and misspelled his name. These are the types of things that we can incorporate. You can incorporate these things into your marketing. And I'll give you guys a verse. This is Jesus talking about sending out his disciples. And he says, I am sending you out like sheep among wolves. Therefore, be as shrewd as snakes and as innocent as doves. Okay. So Jesus told us, hey, in this world, he's telling his disciples, I am sending you out like sheep among wolves. And then he says, therefore, be as shrewd as snakes and as innocent as doves. There is a time for us to be shrewd, to be wise, to be strategic in how we go about these things, how we go about marketing these products, how we go about telling our stories. Again, a lot of the tactics that Lil Nas X uses, hey, I gotta reject those, okay? But there's other stuff that we could take, we could glean from, we could learn from, we could incorporate. These are good things that I think we can take away from something like this, okay? So you gotta examine where you draw that line, okay? For me, I'm not trolling people. That's just not the energy that I'm on, all right? So, new Gallup poll came out, found out that 52% of the people who watch this video are not subscribed, so hit that subscribe and like button. Don't play yourself. Also, if you guys got any angry comments for me, before you leave a comment, shoot me a DM on Instagram. I'll reply back to almost every single DM, so you can hit me there. I will usually reply to. We can talk about it there instead of you being angry, and give this video a quick thumbs up.
Joshua the King came down and bore it all. Yeah, conversations front of the fireplace. All of my mistakes how do I erase? Wanna operate at a higher pace. Birth pains causing the body to dilate. On a first name basis with the worst pain.